Welcome to the Retirement Education Hour. I'm Megan Mozak. It's great to be here in the studio once again with financial instructors Kirk Cassidy and Michael Mazarin. Kirk and Michael, they're both with the Retirement Education Foundation, and we have a great show with them today, and it's just for you. You know, we focus on retirement planning, and the foundation makes that possible. They also go even deeper into this idea and topic of retirement planning by holding courses. These are like master's level courses on retirement planning, and they're held at major colleges and universities near you. We'll be telling you throughout the program how you can very easily get registered, reserve your spot, and do something for yourself in terms of retirement planning that's going to go a long way for your future and your financial success. And I want to dive right into this program with Kirk and Michael. I'm really excited to talk about redefining what a quality retirement is. You know, when I think about, I've got kids in college and high school, Kirk and Michael, and, you know, my husband and I, we don't want them just to pass their courses. We want them to pass with flying colors. And if I'm thinking about that in terms of retirement, I want to do the same thing. I want an A+ retirement, right? Not just a passing grade. So how do we start to get there? What are the steps we need to take?
Well, I think the motivating factor for Michael to create the content for this show today was really about our experience, right? We've taught I don't know where we're at now. We've been saying over 10,000 people for years now. It's a lot of people, Michael. We've taught a lot of people.
We're coming up on 15,000 probably.
And hundreds of thousands of people who are listening to our radio shows, our podcasts, consuming our content, which we're going to talk a little bit more about that content being consumed in the public sphere today. But one of the things we're hearing a lot at the classes is it's almost like a pass-fail for retirement. People judge whether they have had a successful retirement based upon whether they outlive their money or not. So that's what we're consistently hearing is, I will succeed in my retirement as long as I don't outlive my money. And I know that is not the appropriate way to approach retirement. We can actually grade your retirement plan based upon outcomes that you experience throughout your retirement. And it's quantifiable. It's math. And I think it's intentionally been designed by the financial service industry to make it more pass-fail, create everything based upon fear-driven. I'm worried I'm going to outlive my money. I got to follow these general rules. I got to keep working until Medicare kicks in or until social. All these general things in the spirit of just don't let me outlive my money. But I think that's the one thing the class produces is the ability for you to quantify and measure what type of retirement plan you have, right, Michael? And unfortunately, I know listeners are listening to us right now. We know who listen to our show. We know who comes to our classes. These are highly educated, usually college degrees, 4.5 years post-high school education, usually somewhere between $1 and $10 million of investable assets. These are the engineers. These are very CFOs, CPAs. These are very smart people who think they have an A plan designed for them or that they've designed themselves. And when they come through the class, they recognize, it was a lot of sizzle and not a lot of substance to it.
Well, the frustration is that there's really two main flavors. Someone will come and they say, no, I've got a plan. And they show us their dial. And they're in the green zone. They're the 96% likely to succeed. I say, okay, based on that dial, that's great. You're not in the red zone. That's great. Based on that dial, how much are you going to pull from which accounts when the markets are down? Blank stare. What tax bracket will you be in? Blank stare. When are you starting Social Security? Blank stare. There's no answers to these questions that require more nuance, or they have an answer based on the article they read last week, and their mind's going to change 10 times based on what the market's doing the next day. So all these people realize that, you know what, hang on a second. This dial that makes me feel good because it's in the green zone doesn't really give me a whole lot of information on what to actually do in retirement. I'm not going to fail. I'm not going to run out of the money, but I might have a C- outcome, not an A outcome.
And really, that's the goal of our charity, is to help you to identify what grade of plan you have, but identify, is someone selling you something, or how do I find a team that really executes an A plan, which we'll define in today's show. So if you'd like to learn more about this and attend one of our 8-hour courses, go to retirementplanningedu.org. That's retirementplanningedu.org.
So in terms of the planning that comes down to all these different nuances, people have got to figure out and understand, okay, first of all, what are the questions that I should be asking? Because a lot of the people don't even know the right questions to be asking. That's not their fault. The industry does not want to promote these things because they don't have the answers. And so for a lot of people, they are asking questions like, well, what stocks are you going to buy? Or what bonds are you thinking about? Those are not even the right questions to be talking about. The right questions to be talking about are, how much can I have spent? Is it 4%, 5%, 6%, 7%? When can I afford to retire? And then from there, beginning to understand, what does the plan look like? But people don't understand those questions to ask. They haven't been taught those things before.
Michael, one of the things I think is really interesting is when we ask people the question, so when are you going to retire? Often we hear, well, I can retire now. Well, why haven't you retired? Well, I like my job. No, the reason why many, not all of you, but many of you don't retire is because the dial doesn't make you feel comfortable. Your roadmap to retirement for the next 10 callers didn't make you feel comfortable. Your stress test for just people today listening to our show, and hopefully you guys are picking up my sarcasm from all the different radio shows and TV shows you're hearing in local markets, is you guys don't recognize that you are buying what we call sizzle, nothing of substance, and you don't know how to quantify the substance. What should be happening within my plan so that I can retire when I want to, which should be, for many of you, as soon as you can afford to. Your plan should drive when you can retire. You should have enough confidence in that plan that you don't worry about whether you're going to outlive your money. And you should be able to maximize your income. And when we say maximize your income, it's 6, 7, 8, 9% withdrawal rates, not a 4% rule. It's not about how much I grow my wealth in retirement. It's actually how much maximize my income in retirement, right? And then when we're going to talk about this today, but we're going to talk about how much of the sales content that you are hearing on radio and TV from people in the financial service industry is AI produced, and they're not really executing. You have to be able to quantify, are they really executing specific plans that are going to allow you to have the freedom to spend more, retire earlier, pay less taxes. This is why the class is 8 hours. It's almost a master's level course. All we ask is if you make a $29 donation to charity. If you'd like to register, go to retirementplanningedu.org. That's retirementplanningedu.org.
And we'll return with Kirk and Michael straight ahead. Stay with us. We're glad you're with us today. This is the Retirement Education Hour. Megan Mozak here in the studio with financial instructors Kirk Cassidy and Michael Mazerin, talking to Kirk and Michael today about how you want to grade your retirement. You want an A-plus retirement? Well, so do I. Nobody wants just to pass or fail. And we're going to continue getting into that topic with Kirk and Michael here in just a moment. I want to direct you to the website. We've been telling you about these courses that the Retirement Education Foundation holds at major colleges and universities. And when I say courses, I mean it. These are like master's level courses, and we want to see you there. Easiest way to do that, make sure you reserve your spot right now. The seats fill up very quickly. So go to retirementplanningedu.org to get yours today. Retirementplanningedu.org. I mentioned the colleges and universities where you can attend. Those include the University of Michigan, Eastern Michigan University, Michigan State University, Novi and Troy campuses, Oakland University, also the University of Missouri and Columbia College. So make plans to attend. And if you prefer, you are welcome to attend from the comfort of your own home, because all of the courses are streamed live. So go to retirementplanningedu.org or call 800-240-8981. Let's talk about that pass-fail grade for retirement. What do you mean exactly when you describe it that way?
Megan, I would estimate, and I would say this confidently, that 98, 99% out of 100 people are going to approach retirement based upon this pass-fail mentality. And we're going to prove that by giving you some of the descriptions that our financial service industry shares when they describe your retirements, and some of the approaches that many of you are taking when you're looking at retirement. And we're going to prove to you that you are just approaching this as a pass-fail. Pass meaning I don't outlive my money, fail meaning I will outlive my money. And the fear of outliving your money is what drives you to accept just a passing grade as opposed to trying to create greatest efficiency and trying to accomplish an A-graded retirement. And I know this sounds sort of corny and sort of marketing, riffed up sort of script for a radio show, but it really isn't. Because here, I'll give you some examples, Michael. So Susie Orman, we hear this from many retirement experts, Susie Orman being one of them, is you should work as long as you can, right? I think her comment was $2 million was like pennies, right? I'm serious. I think that's what she said.
That is, she caught some heat recently. So she was telling people, don't you dare retire before 70. Don't you dare retire unless you have, I think she said something like $5 million, because $2 million today is nothing. And you need at least $5 million. And a lot of the reasons they're saying things like this is because if they can get people to work longer and amass more in their savings, then yeah, you're only going to need 2 or 3% per year from your portfolio because you worked until you were 70 and you ended up saving $2-3 million, as opposed to retiring earlier and not saving quite as much. But if you had done that, you would have had to withdraw 5, 6, 7%, not 2 or 3%.
And I want to be clear because, Michael, we assume that listeners of our show are always listeners coming back listening, and they understand when we say withdraw 5, 6, 7, 8, 9% withdrawal rates, right? So we're specifically saying not growth rates. We're saying income. How much, what percentage of money am I drawing out of my retirement accounts to live on a consistent basis? And when I mean consistent basis, we're also saying we don't need to protect our principal, right? If you are still in the category that you're trying to protect your principal, you are living with a pass-fail retirement plan. You are not look, an A retirement, let's just define it. An A retirement allows you to retire earlier. It allows you to spend 7, 8, 9% of whatever you have saved, whatever you have today. $2 million, you're spending $120,000 to $180,000, $200,000 a year, depending on your age and many variables. Not the 4% rule in protecting your principal. An A retirement is going to map out exactly what you should do during times of market volatility. And guess what that is? That's just changing the accounts we're going to pull our money from, not reducing our spending, not trying to protect our principal. Because I'm betting most of the people listening today, Michael, if you ask them, do you want to leave as much wealth that you've amassed right now? You are 60 years old. You have $2, $3, $4 million saved. Do you want to leave that much when you're gone? Is that your goal? Is that your objective?
So at first, a lot of people say yes because they've tricked themselves into thinking, I do want to leave this wealth. But really, in the back of their mind, whether it's conscious or subconscious, what that big pot of money at the end of their life is for is in case there's a market event or in case they need long-term care. They don't really want to leave $2, $3, $4, $5 million when they're gone, but they don't know any other way. They've been told their whole lives, don't dip into the principal. You got to save just in case. And that's what they've taught themselves to do.
Here's how we prove to people that, still, don't get me wrong. There's some of you that want to leave a legacy, and leaving a large legacy may be a priority. What we want to determine, and one of the things the class helps you to identify, is whether that goal is based upon a fear and anxiety of outliving your money, you're falling for the pass-fail method, or is it really because leaving a legacy to your loved ones is a priority to you? And if that's the case, here's how we overcome that. It's super simple. I challenge all of you. Just buy a big life insurance policy, target whatever you want to leave to your kids, and then go spend the rest of your money. And you'll say, no, I can't do that because I don't know if I'm going to have a long-term care event. I don't know if we're going to have a recession or a lost decade like we had in the early 2000s. Again, we're trying to prove to you that means you have a pass-fail retirement plan. A retirement plan, which we'll teach you in the class so you can go find and know if you have, is literally going to make you feel confident. There's risk mitigation built in it so that you can take your 7 or 8, 9% withdrawal rates per year and slowly spend down your principal and not have a fear of outliving your money no matter what the market conditions are, no matter the health event, no matter if one spouse predeceases the other early, no matter what happens to taxes, because someone has constructed a plan running hundreds of iterations, spending 50 plus hours building that plan so that you can have an A retirement, an A-rated retirement, so you can spend freely, retire earlier, spend more, and pay less taxes in retirement. And most importantly, have less anxiety in retirement, right? We call the 50s the invincibles, the 60s, people who are anxious, and 70s, people start to get scared. This is the evolution of retirement. Look, attend the class. It's 8 hours. It's like a master's level course in universities, all the major colleges and universities in your area. We're there. You can stream it live. If wherever you're at in the country listening to us while we're teaching at University of Michigan or teaching at Michigan State or Oakland University or the University of Missouri, all you have to do is make a $29 donation to charity to attend, and you will be able to identify and find those teams in your communities to help you have an A-graded retirement. If you'd like to register, go to retirementplanningedu.org. That's retirementplanningedu.org.
And we will be right back. There's plenty more Retirement Education Hour coming straight up. We're glad you're with us on the Retirement Education Hour. Great topic today. We're helping you achieve that A-plus retirement. We don't just want you to pass retirement. We want you to pass with flying colors. And Kirk and Michael, they're here. They're financial instructors, and they are here to help you understand what that takes. It does not take just a hope and a prayer. Retirement is far more complex, and it's especially these days. It really takes a lot. It takes a lot of education. And good news is that's what the Retirement Education Foundation is all about. That is their mission, educating you and helping you gain confidence as you move into this next phase of life. Now, we want you to be at the foundation's courses that are held at major colleges and universities. These courses are centralized around retirement planning concepts, and so you can reserve your spot. Do it right now. Go to retirementplanningedu.org. That's retirementplanningedu.org. While you're there, you're going to see all of the locations for these courses, and these really are like master's level courses. They're held at the University of Michigan, Eastern Michigan University, Michigan State University, Novi, and Troy campuses. Oakland University is on that list. Also, the University of Missouri and Columbia College. So go to the website now and pick a date and a location, retirementplanningedu.org, or you can call 800-240-8981. We're going to get back to our show. Want to remind you, you can listen to this show or all the others we have in our library anywhere you find your favorite podcast. You can download the show there. Simply search for the name of our program, Retirement Education Hour. All right, Kirk, earlier in our show, I heard you say something, and it really got my attention. I've got to follow up with you on this. You were talking about AI-driven retirement planning concepts. What do you mean by that, and what can people expect if that's what's being offered?
So that's, Megan, this is one of the more frustrating things, particularly recently, that is under the skin of many of us at the charity, many of the instructors and people at the Retirement Education Foundation, the charity. Because the purpose of our charity is to help. The charity does a number of different things, but specifically, including, by the way, I should mention, teaching advanced financial literacy in high schools in lower income communities, which is amazing. But this radio show and the classes we're talking about and our podcast that we're talking about right now is focused on people within 10 years of retirement through retirement to help them to better understand how to find the right teams to help them to have that A-rated retirement plan so that they can spend more, retire earlier, pay less taxes, have less anxiety. It's really helping you to identify, is someone saying things that sound good, or are they really providing you the best outcomes? And that is difficult for even many of you very well educated, even do-it-yourselfers, the engineers who are really spending time reading and researching and learning about the markets and read books about retirement. So what's happened is AI is taken. Now, we produce so much content. They have our 8-hour education, almost master's level courses that we teach at the universities. They have our podcasts. They have all of our webinars, all of our white papers that the charity is producing and creating. And then they can go put that in AI and spit out marketing campaigns, digital marketing campaigns, scripts for radio shows. Have you noticed some of the local radio shows sound just like what we talk about in our classes and on our charity's website, and specifically around like sequence of returns? So you're hearing all these concepts. So we are really providing content, unfortunately, to the financial service industry. I don't even want to call it financial sales industry, to go out and promote. And it's sales when they go on radio and say the next 10 callers gets this free roadmap, blah, blah, blah. Come on, guys, use a little common sense. That the purpose of this course, the education, is so that when you sit down with someone to hire them to take care of your wealth, to hire them to take care of your taxes and your estate planning and retirement, that you actually understand the mechanics that will provide the risk mitigation that is going to give you the freedom to spend more, pay less taxes. Not just someone saying they're doing these things, not someone just saying, oh, you know what you shouldn't do is take money from a portfolio when the market's down. You should have another account for that. How long have we been talking about pivot accounts? So what you need to be able to do is look at the plan and identify within the plan, are they doing and executing those particular strategies? And then you will be well enough informed to ask them the correct questions to identify, is someone selling you products and it's BS, it's sizzle, or are they really actually iterating, doing hundreds of iterations, spending 50 hours to truly maximize your retirement?
I really empathize with, the general public, the people who are trying to figure these things out, because I think about, if I needed to have a surgery done, I have no clue what goes into surgery, what makes a good surgeon and a bad surgeon. So if I need a surgery done, I don't know what questions to ask. I don't know how to tell. Are they talking up a good game, or do they really do the surgery well? I have no idea. So I've got to do what research I can on, I don't know, Google, or go online and look at their ratings or something and figure out, okay, are they a good surgeon or not? I'm not equipped with the questions to ask to figure out, are they really doing the surgery properly? That's what the class is trying to do, is give you the questions to go talk to these people and speak their language to get a better sense of, are they really doing the things they claim they're doing well, or are they just talking the talk and not walking the walk?
It's funny, Michael. Think about the people who are the listeners that are hiring these people to help them with retirement, or even doing it themselves. We're talking about the 50-somethings right now, the invincibles that have had the greatest bull run in market history over the last 12, 15 years. At the tail end of their professional careers, where their compound interest is like reaching full horsepower, right? I mean, like they're at the top of their careers and their professions. They're at the best. They are the most overconfident that they've ever been in their entire lives. They're the invincibles. And then you're going to sit down in front of salespeople and think you know enough to know if someone is really providing you the best outcomes or not. That's the problem. The truth is, you are not equipped to do that. And that is the entire purpose. That is the entire purpose of our 8-hour master's level courses, to protect the consumers, to be able to get the greatest possible retirements that they can have by equipping you with showing you literally what the iterations are doing and how to iterate and how that plan should be structured with the buckets within buckets. Now everyone's saying this, but they can say it. You need to be able to quantify it and see it in a plan and understand the mechanics to be able to qualify somebody or not, whether they're truly providing you a service that's valuable or are they selling you something. And that is our intent at the charity that was founded over 10 years ago. We are now impacting hundreds of thousands of people. If you'd like to register for one of these 8-hour, almost master-level courses, go to retirementplanningedu.org. That's retirementplanningedu.org.
And we'll be back with Kirk and Michael right after this. We're back. This is the Retirement Education Hour. Glad you've tuned in. Megan Mozak here in the studio with financial instructors Kirk Cassidy and Michael Mazarin. They're both with the Retirement Education Foundation, and we want to see you register for the Foundation's courses on retirement planning. Now, these really are deep dives. They're like master's level courses on retirement planning, and they are appropriately held at major colleges and universities near you. And those include the University of Michigan, Eastern Michigan University, Michigan State University, Novi, and Troy campuses, Oakland University, also the University of Missouri, and Columbia College. Go look at that full list at retirementplanningedu.org. Then reserve your spot. Make plans to attend. You can also call to reserve at 800-240-8981. And don't forget, you can find this very show and many, many others in our library. Wherever you download your favorite podcast, simply search for the name of our program, Retirement Education Hour. Today, we're talking about how to get more than just a passing grade in retirement. But I do have to back up here a moment and ask you both, passing's passing, right? I mean, there's some kind of positive in that, is there not?
Well, I think that's an interesting point, Megan. I really believe the fear of fail, the fear of just failing, because failing means I've outlived my money and I'm going to be dependent on others and maybe impact my children or loved ones. That fear drives people to accept just a pass-fail, right? And, Michael was saying something in between the break here, and I think he's right. And I mean, I'd like Michael just to explain it again. That whole concept, they've grinded their entire lives.
So this is something that I've been thinking about lately, and it really just kind of boggles my mind, is that people spend, 20, 30, 40, 50 years. A lot of people tell us, I've been, working since I was 10 years old, my first paper route. So working 30, 40, 50 years, working hard, saving, sacrificing. They're putting off the vacation. They're putting off the dream car. They put off the big house move. They're putting kids through college. They're doing all these things with the future goal of retirement. And then they're close. They're in their late 50s, their early 60s. They're thinking about retirement pretty soon. And then they spend all this time, all this work, all this sacrifice, and then they end up with a passing plan.
Like that's C or D?
So your plan's a C- plan or a C. Okay, so you're in the green zone. You're in the 89% green zone on the dial, and you're projected to, you're going to retire with $2.5 million. You're going to leave $3 million when you're gone, which that wasn't a goal of yours, but they say you can't spend more. So, okay, so I'm never going to run out of money. Well, that's a C plan. So you spent your entire life working hard, saving, sacrificing. And then when you're at that, pivotal moment of trying to figure out what do I do with all this lifetime savings, you dump it all into a C plan.
Well, Michael, that's because they listened to a radio show or a TV show, or they read, especially the radio shows. For callers today, we're going to offer a free stress test. We're going to run, and essentially what they're doing is running Monte Carlos. And there's a number of different, it could be hidden levers, it could be risk-alize, it could be all these different sizzly things. And you notice how they name the financial service industry names all these processes that sound so fancy, and then they're always trying to give it away to the next 10 callers, right? So the reason they do that is because they fall for that, and they call and they get their stress test, and someone does say, look at this, your chances of outliving your money is less than 6%, 8%. The dial says so. And all you have to do is you just have to live on 4% of your money. So you're not quite there. Just you can work a couple more years, then you're there. And then just live on 4% of your money. And taxes are not important in retirement, by the way. I mean, I think you just learned that in your CFP, right? You know,
That's what they claim, at least.
Yeah, we just had someone go through the CFP program, and they claim that taxes are not that important because most people live on half the money in retirement, and that shouldn't be the priority. It's just nonsense. Our industry is full of nonsense because none of them really want to work. They don't want to iterate so you can have more money, spend more money, pay less taxes, and really mitigate your risks so you can more aggressively spend. Hold on, Michael. And they do that because they're all incentivized. Why would they do any of those things? Because to make less money? Because the more you spend, the less the financial advisor makes. So go ahead.
So that you nailed it. I was going to jump in and say it. So why do they do this? Why 60, 40, 4% rule, all these rules of thumb? It's because, again, the more they can get you to be afraid about anything, about the stock market, inflation.
This is a great time, by the way.
Long-term care, yeah, and tariffs, headlines, afraid of anything. It doesn't matter what they can make you afraid of. If they can make you afraid of anything, that'll get you to work longer, spend less. That means they don't
sell you an annuity.
They don't need to have all the buckets and pivot accounts. They can just dump everything into a 60-40 portfolio. The Monte Carlo back test from eMoney, Money Guide Pro, Right Capital, all the software systems will tell you you're in the green zone and you're good to go. And if you work longer and spend less, they make more over time. So they're working less. There's less work to be done to support your plan. They make more money, and the software is right. You won't run out. If you're only spending 4% per year, you'll never run out.
Well, that's why they do it.
So the software is not wrong about that. But if you end up dying and leaving more wealth to your beneficiaries than the day you retired, if that's not your goal, that's a fail.
Michael, we know this to be true. We know that the data tells us that 80% of you will have the same wealth the day you die than the day you retired. You're not going to spend your money. So the original question is, why would someone accept just a pass-fail? Because the fear of failure is so great. If someone can just tell them they're not going to fail, they're not going to outlive their money, they'll live on less. They don't care. The taxes aren't even important to them anymore. And they're okay with some anxiety. I'm so afraid of outliving my money, right? And so that's the whole, and the more content we produce, Michael, the more ammunition we're giving them for them to run through the AI, spit out a script, spit out marketing materials, sales pitches, to sell annuities. They love, Michael, fear in the markets. They love the tariff, the DOGE, everything that can create fear that something bad's going to happen allows them to sell you annuities, just to sell you a product. Guess what? Maybe annuities should be in your plan. Maybe they shouldn't, but whatever is in your plan, the plan should dictate what should be in your plan, not your fear, not their ability to sell you something. That's the purpose of 8-hour master's level course, to teach you how the sausage is made in building a comprehensive retirement plan that allows you to maximize income, reduce taxes, and mitigate these risks so you don't have fear and anxiety. So you don't have to protect your principal and spend less during times of market volatility or when you're scared about who's in office. Come to the 8-hour class. This is going to help you it'll provide you so much freedom in retirement. This education is invaluable. If you'd like to register, all you have to do is make a $29 donation to charity. Go to retirementplanningedu.org. That's retirementplanningedu.org.
And we'll be back. There's plenty more Retirement Education Hour straight ahead. This is the Retirement Education Hour, and I'm in the studio today with financial instructors Kirk Cassidy and Michael Mazerin, and you have a chance to meet Kirk, Michael, the other educators. When you attend the Retirement Education Foundation's courses on retirement planning, and you're going to want to be there, these courses are held at major colleges and universities near you, and those include the University of Michigan, Eastern Michigan University, Michigan State University, Novi and Troy campuses, Oakland University as well. You can also attend at the University of Missouri or Columbia College. Go to the website now, get that full list, and reserve your spot. It's retirementplanningedu.org. You can also call to register 800-240-8981. And if you'd like to go back and listen to this show, maybe share it with a spouse, a neighbor, a friend, you can do that easily and find it wherever you download your favorite podcasts. And you can search for the name of our show, which is Retirement Education Hour. You're going to see our full library of show topics there. And I do want to get back to the topic at hand. We don't want you to have just a pass-fail retirement. We want you to pass retirement with flying colors. And to do that, how would you define an A-rated retirement when it comes to risk mitigation? I know a lot of people have risk on their mind right now, Kirk and Michael.
Well, I think this is where the class becomes invaluable to people. The charity is really good at the 8-hour classes. Guys, gals, all of you in your 50s and 60s, if you have, those of you who haven't been, you need to come. I'm just telling you, it will change your retirement. It'll change your perspective on everything. Because what I think the class is really good at is it's almost like the transparency of really what's happening in the financial service industry to be able to execute whatever sort of plan you have. What are they doing to implement those plans and execute them? Right? It's almost lifting the hood. And what we're going to do in the class, and what we do in the class is we lift the hood to show you what they should be doing to mitigate all the risks that you should be afraid of. What are those risks? And how are they actually executing the risk mitigation? So people talk about sequence of returns risk. People talk about long-term care. People talk about if one spouse predeceases the other spouse, what is the impact to the surviving spouse? They talk about all the risks. They talk about them. But no one is giving you the playbook of how they are behind the scenes constructing, implementing, and executing that plan, including investments, including tax mitigation against risk mitigation against long-term. All those things is what the class is exceptionally good at, is lifting the hood and showing you this is how you should construct a retirement plan and a retirement portfolio. And the reason why the portfolios are constructed this way is to mitigate this risk. And this is the button you should push when the markets are up. This is the button you should be pushing when the market's down. This is the button you can push if one spouse predeceases the other. This is the button you should push when there's a long-term care event. It's not selling a product. It's not a product. It's the iterating of planning to find the most efficient path. And then once you've iterated to develop that plan, what levers should be pulled when during different life events, market events, geopolitical issues, economic events? What are the actual levers? And that's what they're really good at teaching. And that's why it's 8 hours. It's like master's level. It's really comprehensive.
So you know what cracks me up is that every couple classes we'll have someone raise their hand in the first 10, 15 minutes and almost interrupt a little bit and say, hey, look, I'm just here to understand, what's the best investment for retirement? Or when should I start Social Security? Or what's the secret sauce here for taxes?
What's the best annuity? Should I own an annuity?
And immediately, the answer is, well, everything depends. And they're not happy with that answer. And so they cross their arms and they listen. By the end of that class, that person realizes, holy smokes. I came in here thinking about trying to pick the right stocks for retirement, and they're walking out realizing, first of all, that's nonsense. There's no such thing as the right stock for retirement. That doesn't exist. But more importantly, everything depends. Social Security, tax planning, retirement dates, income sources, pivot accounts, everything depends on their own personal plan.
Well, that's the thing people don't like. So they want simplicity, yet they want the best possible plan, but they don't want to invest the time to educate themselves. So they choose who they're going to work with based upon if they like someone or if they trust them. Like, who are you to determine if you should trust them or not? Really? Like, this isn't your specialty. You can't read yourself into this experience and knowledge. You've not done this thousands of times. And that's, I know, Michael, I'll let you go.
I think you'll nail it. So a lot of people, they want simplicity. And we tell people in the class, look, you can have simple. You can have a 60-40 portfolio and make it 4% rule and make it very simple. You can do that. but you've worked 20, 30, 40, 50 years to have what you have. And if you spend a little extra time, educate yourself a little better, you can spend 5, 6, 7, 8% per year, double than the 4% rule. Yeah, the 4% rule is easier, but you can have double if you spend some time and effort educating yourself and understanding the mechanics better.
You won't be intimidated by it either, because you'll understand conceptually why things are being done, how they should be done conceptually. You're not going to do this yourselves. The purpose of this class is to convince you shouldn't do this yourselves, and B, to how to find the right teams to help you. Because the solution, Michael, all the insurance salesmen on the radio and TV, they sell 80% of everything they do is in annuities, and their answer to everything is an annuity with a 60-40 portfolio. That's their answer to everything. And it's not a product.
Simplicity, there you go. One answer for everybody.
It's not a product. It's not a specific asset allocation. There isn't a specific time you should take Social Security. By the way, you're all making the wrong decisions with Social Security. Let me not say all. 92% of you are making the wrong decisions when choosing Social Security. That isn't what I am saying. That's what Social Security Administration tells us. And our charity has witnessed that. Tens of thousands of people now. We have a lot of experience on helping you to find the right teams, right? An A plan, Michael, well, we'll get into what an A plan is. I don't want to steal thunder for the last segment, what it should look like. But that's what the class does. It really opens up the transparency to what people should be providing you. And if they are truly going to execute and implement a comprehensive A-rated, maximize income, mitigate risks, reduce taxes plan. So do yourself a favor, sign up for one of our 8-hour classes. We just asked for a $29 donation to charity. If you'd like to register, go to retirementplanningedu.org. That's retirementplanningedu.org. Or you can call 1-800-240-8981.
And we're back with Kirk and Michael right after this. Stay tuned. Glad you're with us today on the Retirement Education Hour. I'm Megan Mozak, and it's always a pleasure to be in the studio with financial instructors Kirk Cassidy and Michael Mazarin. We're talking today about your grade in retirement. What do you want to graduate with? Do you want to have an A-plus retirement? Are you happy just to pass? Well, Kirk and Michael say you should be aiming for that A-plus retirement. We don't want you to get a pass-fail grade. And the good news is there are ways to make sure you do pass with flying colors. So we want to give you another resource. Besides just the great and valuable information you're hearing on the show today, we want you to attend the Retirement Education Foundation's courses on retirement planning. And these are like master's level courses. We want to see you there. They're held at the University of Michigan, Eastern Michigan University, Michigan State University, Novi and Troy campuses, Oakland University, also the University of Missouri and Columbia College. Get all the details at retirementplanningedu.org. That's retirementplanningedu.org, or call 800-240-8981. Okay. So Kirk and Michael, got to ask you, if people want an A-plus retirement, they don't just want to pass, they don't just want to get by with a C in retirement, what do they need to do?
Well, the first thing they need to do is come to the class, right? And as we conclude and begin to wrap up our show today, I want to remind the listeners two things. One, we are a charity. We're a national charity. Been over a decade. We've taught 10, 15, I don't know where we're at, 15,000 people or so. Hundreds of thousands of people are consuming our content. We are not a dinner seminar. It's one of the reasons we require a donation to attend our 8-hour classes. It's one of the reasons we teach them at the different universities and colleges in your area. We stream these classes as well live. These are not recorded on demand. These are live streamed classes while we are teaching the courses in the universities, where you can participate, ask questions, get responses while we're teaching the class with everyone else in there. So the way to get an A-plus rated retirement, it's with planning, right? But don't want to oversimplify it by just saying by getting a good plan, right? Because the truth is, and I'm not trying to offend anyone, but none of you really know how to quantify or measure a good plan. And that is the purpose of our class. It's like we're not only going to teach you the levers and the variables on how to design and create the plan, but what it takes to implement the plan. And the purpose of us teaching you all of this in the course, I mean, you're going to see it's not just people see that spreadsheet and they think, oh, look at it, it's an Excel spreadsheet. No. Within that spreadsheet we are iterating and red, yellow, green zones in each different account. And there's 12, 15 different accounts for different market conditions where we're taking income from. And everyone's plan is different, especially around taxes to determine on Social Security and surviving spouse. And are you wanting a max income plan where you're going to have a controlled spend down of your principal? Are you trying to leave a big legacy to your charity? So every plan is different. And that is one of the biggest lessons people learn is there's no rule. The answers are always, when people ask questions, it depends on your plan, right? So your plan, it's not your advisor's feelings. It's not your feelings or opinions. It's not our feelings or opinions. The plan will drive what you should and shouldn't do, how much risk you should take, what products you should have, when you should be taking income, from which accounts. And the plan is a math problem. It's iterating, modeling, hundreds of different examples and timing. And I'm trying to communicate in a way that people can follow, because I get accused of using too many abbreviations and technical in the market industry. But I try to tell people our listeners are engineers. They're the CPAs and attorneys. They want the more technical. And that's what we give in the class. It's really an advanced course.
And on top of all the technicals that we cover in the class, a really important piece that we talk about is the psychology behind retirement.
Yes.
People really underestimate the psychological shift from working, earning money, saving money, to then spending that money. People fantasize about retirement, but when they get there, they realize, oh, this is harder than I realized, to actually go spend the money. And so helping them understand, okay, here's the psychological shift. And then beyond that, finding the right teams, plural, of people, the CPA, the attorney. You've got to have this closed network, this closed loop of professionals to help take care of you as you age. Because people go, oh, no. I manage my own investments. I do my own taxes and TurboTax. Yeah, you're 58. As you age and cognitive decline starts to kick in and you start to slip on these things, who are you hurting? Usually your spouse or your loved ones, or you're making a mistake for yourself.
Michael, that person that's doing their own taxes and their own, and I know listeners we know that's everyone that comes to our class. They come to our class. Most of them are doing it themselves, their investments. They're doing their taxes themselves, and many are married, and the spouse has nothing to do with this. And they're like, well, I'm invincible. I'll never die or cognitively decline or have issues. First of all, you're going to have a pass-fail retirement. And most of you are smart enough to get a pass retirement. That's great. But none of you, and I'm intentionally saying none of you, are going to have an A+ rated retirement, because you have zero clue on how to implement an A+ rated retirement. In fact, there aren't many people in the financial service industry that's providing A+ rated retirement. They talk about it, and that is the purpose of the class.
And if you disagree, honestly,
come to class.
Come to the class. We talk to people after the class a lot. People kind of even though it's for the night classes, it's 11 o'clock, 11:30. People are still hanging around because they're asking questions still. They still want to talk about it. They're excited about the class. We've had a couple people say, I came to the class because I
upset them on the radio
because you challenged us on the radio and I didn't believe you and I thought I could come prove you wrong. But holy smokes, I didn't understand the levers, the buckets and the pivot accounts. And I didn't really understand the tax math behind Social Security or how to think about my pension. And so, holy smokes, I'm glad I came to the class.
And that's why you guys, please attend one of these 8-hour courses. They're all at most of the major colleges and universities in your area. They're every month. There's no excuse for people listening to us all over the country. We're streaming them live. We just asked you to make a $29 donation that goes to charity. If you'd like to register, go to retirementplanningedu.org. That's retirementplanningedu.org.